This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the speakers.
Welcome to Positively on the Spectrum, our podcast where we put a positive spin on life on the spectrum, finding your village and navigating neurodiversity. We aren't experts, but we're in it together.
We are. Hi. This week we wanted to chat about safety.
Yep.
And what it means in all different aspects of life. So, for example, being out and about, safety in school and nursery provisions, safety in the home, a lack of safety awareness, high pain threshold is a really big one for us. I think it's that constant hypervigilance that us as parents are always in. It's the getting an invite to something and instantly having to go into your brain and decide, can you do it alone? Do you need another set of hands? Have you been to this venue before? Is there an easy way for them to escape or not escape, or is it accessible? That kind of thing, which parents without children on the spectrum just say, yep, we'll be there because it's a party or it's, whatever it is. And I think that's probably been one of the things that I've struggled with the most, because I'm a very social person. Growing up, if there was an invite, I was there kind of thing. And I expected to be able to do the same with my kids. And I have, like right from the get-go, I have made sure that we have been able to go to things as much as possible. But it has meant either taking Granny with us or making sure that I had researched and phoned and been to the venue before or that kind of thing to know that my mind was at ease walking in there with two children. Previously, it wasn't so bad when my youngest was little and still in a pram and that kind of thing. So I was able, so you knew that one was contained. But obviously as she's gotten older, then that's presented itself a whole new scenario as well of having them both. I only recently learnt to drive, and that was a massive driving force to that, was the fact that I couldn't take both of my kids out and about when their dad was at work and that kind of thing. So that was, it's just, it's always in the back of your mind. I don't know about you.
Let's start in a home.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to that age where you would expect him to understand danger, but obviously he doesn't understand danger. He doesn't have any awareness. So things like if I'm cooking, the flame on the cooker, he just loves looking at it, and you're just almost waiting for him to touch it. So I'm like an octopus when I'm cooking, like trying to do my best to keep them out of the kitchen, but they always manage to sneak in, and yourself, it takes 2 seconds. So there's things like that. And then toilets are a big problem for us at home because he loves water, so he likes to put his hands down the toilet, or toothbrushes or toys. So, and then obviously putting toys down it, it's just a nightmare for plumbers and things like that, but putting his hands down it and then putting his hands in his mouth, then he's got an upset tummy and stuff. So that's a worry for me, being hyper vigilant over that. And I've had to put like a lock and stuff on it.
And I think a lot of people would say, oh, well, that's just developmental, that's lots of children do that, and they do, but not past a certain age, when they're also tall enough to reach certain things. And so yes, all children do that, but it does get, like you say, to a point, and that can then also mean that when you're trusting someone to watch them, they're not always going to be as hyper vigilant as they were, because they're expecting them to have outgrown that phase. And I have that issue as well.
And that's what I mean by age. He's almost like up until recently, you would have known that anybody watching him would have expected them to, you need to keep an eye on him, you need to watch him at all times. But with him now turning 3, it's more that's the kind of thing you would, expect him not to know not to do.
And that's where it becomes that it is about the autism and the developmental delay.
Also just anything hot, like if I'm ironing or straighteners, things like that, everything you just got to be hyper vigilant, haven't you? Just make sure that you're on top of it.
Eyes in the back of your head. And again, all parents I like that, but it gets to the point. I mean, my eldest, she's 6.5, and she's still at that stage, but also she's like 4.5 foot tall. So there's no up high, there's no keeping things out of her reach. She has gotten really good. She understands if I say hot, she, you know, that kind of thing. Her, let's say, I would say her inquisitiveness has gotten a lot less, which is now keeping her safe, because she's now understanding, oh, that is hot. Or if I say hot, like quite strongly, she's like, oh, okay, whatever Mum's saying, it's stop. Yeah, she does. She gets the tone now. Whereas my youngest, she's perfectly capable of understanding not to touch something, but she's still very inquisitive, because she is 4, but she still sort of thinks, well, I mean, she did it yesterday. She just stared me straight in the eyes as she drew on the wall, because she was pushing that boundary. And so she will do that when it comes to safety sometimes as well. But also it factors into the sensory input. So she loves to jump off things. So she'll jump off like the third bottom step. And the other day she jumped kind of funny and did twist her ankle. So there's that safety aspect as well. Not so much things that are a danger around them, but them actually hurting themselves, trying to push that boundary and get that sensory input.
But like him with the head banging. If he's if it's not a frustration thing, if it is just purely he's getting feedback from it, you know, it's the kind of same situation, isn't it? Redirecting it to somewhere else, or trying to find a suitable place for him to do it. If someone's watching him for me, and I almost feel terrible, because I'm like, remember this, remember that, have you done this? Like, is your door shut? Like, if he goes up the stairs, you need to go with him for the toilet and things like that. And you almost feel like you're a pain and you're being annoying. But I think they get it. Like my mum and that, she appreciates it. I'm sure when I leave, she rolls her eyes and goes, But it just me in my head, I need to know that I have reiterated that again, even though I've done it, you know, before. But I just that constant hyper vigilant, and then even when I'm away from him, I never settle until I'm back, and it's horrible. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it is. It is exhausting. It is, and I don't think we realize how exhausting it is, because it just becomes second nature. Like the idea of constantly being on alert. Your actual like nervous system being on alert all the time is exhausting. And then I mean, team that with the fact that we don't sleep.
No, we don't sleep either.
Well, our children don't sleep. I would sleep beautifully.
So would I.
But yeah, I think it is hard, and then you've got the sort of the different aspects of school and nursery. And if you don't have a specialist provision, or a provision that has the correct ratio in order to keep your child safe and looked after and that kind of thing,
it's all about making sure risk assessments are done. Absolutely. And everybody's on the same page, and you're trusting them as well.
I think communication is key in that situation. Definitely. Don't ever feel like you can't ask for a meeting or a risk assessment or anything like that, because
point things out. Point things out. Any good nursery will be happy to listen to you and take it on board, because at the end of the day, you're making their life easier. They don't want it to happen and then them you know, having to come to you and say, listen, this happened.
Absolutely.
I mean, and things do happen, you know, as much as you prepare, things do happen. But if it's something that could have been prevented and they never thought of it, I'm sure they would appreciate you giving them a heads up on it. Like with the toilet situation, as especially letting nursery know that obviously age and stage with them, toilets encouraged, you know, go to the toilet whenever you need and whatever. So that was a big one for me, was making sure that he wasn't going to the toilet with his hands in the toilet.
And not to put a negative spin on it, but even if you do have a specialist setting, they can't remember everything, and they, you know, every single child in there has their own needs. So communication is absolutely key when it comes to keeping them safe outside of the home. And never be afraid to ask for, like I said, risk assessments or anything like that, because
our life's one big risk
assessment. Well, it is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
Like what do you call that? Health and safety inspector. Yeah. Everywhere I go.
And it is like I don't know. I'm sure I've got eyes in the back of my head, and my hearing has gotten infinitely better since having a child with autism who doesn't sort of understand safety, because you can't. I mean, at any point in my house, if I can hear it, I can sort of tell what the kids are up to. And we've got locks on all of our windows and all of our doors. We've got extra bolts and things like that. And it was quite a transition for us because we actually just recently went from a ground floor, like 2-bedroom flat, into a house, upstairs, downstairs, big back garden, that kind of thing. And it was quite an adjustment. I mean, we didn't have any issues besides the dog getting out, but otherwise the kids didn't, so that was the main thing. But yeah, it's taking that into consideration in every single aspect of your life.
Yeah.
But again, not discrediting any other parent, because every parent goes through it, but it's just it's the length of time that we have to we have to manage it.
Yeah, because obviously I've got my daughter who is also autistic, but she understands safety. She's the opposite. She's the complete opposite. You know, we laugh. I don't know if I've said this before, but we would take her to a park and she'd almost be standing there looking like, is that too high for me? And she'd watch kids doing it before she would do it. And half the time she would walk away because she'd be like, nah, that's too scary or it's too high. Whereas he's the kid that's going down the slide head first.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
jump first, think later.
Yeah. So I do get it, but I've got a daughter who gets the risks and knows the risks, and I don't need to worry about her. And even like when she would go to my mum's, I didn't have the same worry that I have with him, just because he is more mischievous. And he is at that age now, like you say, where he's exploring everything, which is great. I mean, it's fantastic. If I'm putting the washing in a washing machine, he's right behind me helping me, and that's what you want. You want them to see you doing it and mirroring it, and that's a massive step forward. Mirroring it and stuff like that is just putting a safety aspect on it as well, isn't it?
Not left the girls at all, but it's not because we don't have the support to do so or anything. It's just personally, I have not really felt the need to, if that makes sense. But I just don't think that they would cope very well. They don't cope very well with me not being there as it is, which is probably my own fault. I probably made a rod for my own back in that situation. But also, I just don't know. I just wouldn't relax, I don't think. And it's something that I need to do, and it's something I need to work myself up to, and I will. Got the rest of my life, I will. But and so I know, and also I totally understand that there are families out there that don't have that option at all. They don't have any support. They don't have anyone that they could leave. When we think about sort of medical families, like with complex medical needs and that kind of thing, like we totally understand it. It looks so different for every single family. I mean, even the two of us, it looks different between our families. But one thing that we've always struggled with, and I don't know about you, there's two things with my oldest. She doesn't feel pain to the point where her pain threshold is, I couldn't even begin to pinpoint where it's at. And that's scary.
Yeah,
scary. She recently fell over in the playground at school. It was just an accident. She was running too fast and she fell forward, and unfortunately she banged her head and she grazed all of her forehead, and she didn't cry or anything. She just jumped back up, but the teacher had seen her and took her to administer first aid and that kind of thing. And then later on they discovered that she had grazed all of her knees as well, and they had no idea, because A, it hadn't ripped through her like trousers, but B, she hadn't given any sort of indication that she was hurt or touched her knees or anything like that. And it was severe. Like her trousers were like stuck to her with like grazed blood and stuff. Like it was horrible. And it was just a real indication of how extreme that pain threshold is. Only once before, so when she was little, she fell onto a hard floor, just tripped over her own feet, but she landed on her elbow on the floor, and she got really quite upset. And so in my mind I thought, it's broken, it's definitely broken, because for her to get upset like that, I knew it was quite bad. And she's hypermobile as well, so that was a concern. I actually broke my elbow when I was 4, quite easily. I got kicked in the elbow by my stepbrother was doing a handstand in the hallway and just kicked his feet up, and I was too close to him. And so in my mind I was like, that's what's happened, because I'm hypermobile as well. So anyway, went to the A&E, and it was quite traumatic because I was heavily pregnant at the time as well. And by the time we got to x-ray, it was midnight, and I couldn't go in the x-ray with her. And anyway, it was all these sorts of things then start to sort of pile on top of you, and you think this is just so different with our children, just so different. Thank goodness it wasn't broken. But
I'm the same. If you know, we joke and say he could run straight into a wall and he would just shake his head and keep going. So if he does fall and he cries, I'm like, oh no, like, and I'm the same. I'm like, is this a hospital visit? Because it takes a lot.
And that's something that I had to pass on to the school, and I don't think they quite fully understood it until that happened, when they saw her knees and were like, how did she not? Because when they phoned me, I said, let me ask you, did she cry? They said, no, she wasn't even upset at all. She was more upset coming into the room off the playground to get first aid. And I said, well, there you go. I think somebody should write that down, because I've tried to explain, and that is an exact example of what I'm trying to say, that she could have got hurt in the classroom and you wouldn't even know, because she won't shout out or react, because she is completely nonverbal as well. So.
And then on the other side, my daughter, she would get a paper cut. And
well, that's my youngest as well. I've got one of each in the house.
And I'm like, oh, she'd be crying. I'm like, oh, you know, right? Yeah, fine. And if it's him, I'm like, oh, hospital.
Yeah.
So
it's a roller coaster. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we're on it. We're strapped in.
We'll learn as we go.
Absolutely.
Like everybody.
And that's why we can't expect any more than that from people outside the family. As long as they're willing, and they're not going to put up a wall and say, I know what I'm doing. You know, as long as they just listen and take in the facts that allow us to be extra vigilant. I think that's the biggest way to sort of love our children and to respect us as parents as well. I think that's really important.
Definitely. So let us know how you deal with safety, how you've got on, whether it's out about or at home.
Find us on Instagram, Positively on the Spectrum. DMs are always open as well, so if you don't want to comment, you can comment on YouTube or Instagram. But if you don't want to comment and you just have any questions, or you want to share anything with us, or just vent, please do. We definitely keep an eye on the DMs and we'll always reply. We've got ourselves quite a wee following now at the moment, and so feel free to go and have a look at any of the other accounts that are on ours as well, because there are some really great resources out there. There's a couple of really good dad accounts that have started following us and have been engaging with us quite a lot. I'm actually going to do a wee follow Friday this week and pop it up on Instagram with a few of accounts that I've seen that I've thought would be really, really helpful to a lot of people. Because big up to the dads as well. Massive big up to the dads.
Definitely.
So and join us next week. I think we're going to have a chat about sleep. Oh my goodness. Strap yourselves in, because I think that's going to be a big one.
Might need about 2 days for that.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See you. Bye.